Final word today goes to Rob Everett, who's been Chief Executive of the FMA since only February of this year. Originally from the UK, Rob was a director with Promontory Financial Group, which is a global regulatory consulting group. Before that, he spent 17 years with Bank of America Merrill Lynch in Europe, Asia and North America. So his depth and wealth of experience really means that he brings a truly global perspective to his leadership of the FMA. Please welcome to the stage Rob Everett.
Our aim was to both inform you and to, more importantly, stimulate the debate. On some of these sorts of topics, I don't think it's always the job of the regulator to talk at you or tell you how to solve the problems. In some places, and this is a key example, we're here to help the industry debate the topic and, more importantly, work out what can be done to get past some of the problems that we see. So that does mean that the challenge rests largely with you, the companies, the auditors, the CFOs, the boards, the audit chairs. So there's still lots to be done. And I think based on the enthusiasm for today, we actually had to turn people away from an FMA event. I'm not sure we've had to do that before. Certainly nothing I've been speaking at. So I think you can anticipate further events like this on the more challenging subjects that we really believe the industry needs to get together and discuss realistic ways of moving forward. So I pulled together some themes and issues raised and discussed today. I thought I'd run through a few of those and just try and sort of wrap up. So first of all, the importance of recognizing all parties in quality financial reporting. As you've heard, company reporting is a servant with many masters, and reports will be read, we hope, by retail shareholders, institutional shareholders, fund managers, analysts, regulators, and indeed competitors. And one of the challenges for boards and audit committees and CFOs is to provide enough information and the right information for each of those audiences. And for some of those reading reports, say the analysts and the fund managers, the report is often only the first way station on a long journey. It provides those professionals with an overview that enable them to ask the more in-depth questions for the company. For retail investors, if they read it at all, the report might well be all that they read. It has to tell them enough to enable them to understand how the firm is performing. And I recognize this issue of multiple readers of reports as being a very tricky balancing act for companies. And it might well lead you to pack in more information rather than less. So as you've heard today, the push of the FMA approach is to urge you to think differently on that topic. And to think through what are the things that all of those audiences need to know and start from there. And I pick up on a couple of the comments in the panel. The other thing that I think corporates ought to be doing is thinking about what information management use, what information the board uses, and asking yourself why you're not starting with that information in the information you give shareholders. You might be surprised how the interests of most audiences and readers of financial reports actually converge on a handful of key points. And in the broader context of today, that pretty much everyone converges on the desire to actually have people read what we're all producing. So one anecdote I wanted to share today, not least with all due apologies to Doug, because it allows me to have a dig at a bunch of Australians, which I've learned in my time here always seems to go down well with a New Zealand audience. And admittedly, this anecdote is on an offer document rather than specifically on financial reporting, but you will get the drift. So we got some feedback on the IPO process and the FMA's role in particular from an Australian private equity firm recently. And there was a lot of good, sensible thinking in there for us to chew on. But also a comment that they didn't understand why we, the FMA, were commenting on the format and presentation and length of the offer document. Not least because, as they put it, the only people that actually read offer documents are the ones that want all the detail. So we laughed out loud and said, but that's the point. You are knowingly writing off an attempt to reach, to communicate, to pick up on a word used earlier, with everybody else. What about the end investors? And some of those end investors are retail investors. And if we write off the ability of those investors to understand offer documents, we're all going to end up in a really bad place. And it's no wonder that in a number of markets, the statistics tell us that retail investors feel increasingly isolated from equity markets. Granted, as the article acknowledges, and you heard earlier, regulators and those who set the standards are often the biggest single determinants of the shape of company reporting. But that does not stop companies making brave decisions taken in the interests of shareholders and other investors while remaining within the standards. Chorus and Genesis are two examples that we've heard about today, and we've seen plenty of others in New Zealand who are making real progress. So in some ways, this is the biggest challenge to come out of today and any discussion of this topic. It's really just how much license boards and audit committees, as advised by the CFOs, by the auditors, by the lawyers, are willing and able to grant themselves while ensuring they remain within the accounting standards and within the law. And again, I recognize that this is hard. As you might imagine, when we looked at our own annual report and financial statements, child's play though they may be to a lot of you, we did feel obliged to walk the walk. We have succeeded in getting our financial statements down by 20%, but the initial comment from our auditors, who by the way are here today and quickly became very supportive, the initial comment was to express some reservations about what we were doing. We pushed very hard, we had a good dialogue, and we got more in the direction of where we wanted to get at the end, and the auditors played a very big role in doing that. But I will say the initial reaction was not completely and utterly impressed. So I hope you have all been impressed today with the topics and the quality of the debate that we've had. We wanted to showcase some of the challenges in this space, but more importantly, we wanted to showcase the fact that real improvements can be made with the right approach across all sectors. We and those such as XRB and NZICA, with whom we are collaborating in this space, both domestically within New Zealand, but also on the global stage with IASB and IOSCO, we would not be driving at this problem if we didn't believe that it's a major inhibitor to confidence and growth in our financial markets. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't believe that with the right degree of effort and support across the industry, that it can be changed in a substantial way to the benefit of all, and in particular, the investors and other users of those reports. Thank you.